do that.
Well, why shouldn't I do that? But that is the fact,
no,
is it not?
No, it is not.
Why not?
It's not about the number. There are lots of people who are not enrolled in tribes.
Forget the number. You have acknowledged that in that National Law Directory, you listed yourself as a minority. If your family had an African American, like you have that grandparent or great-great-grandparent was a Cherokee, would you call yourself a black and expect African Americans to accept that?
You mean if
that
my
same,
father's, well, let me think about this.
If that same ancestor was black and not a Cherokee.
It's not that ancestor. It's if my father's parents had said, you can't marry her because she's black, and that had been part of our family growing up, that we had two different families.
You would be comfortable saying you're black?
It would be part of identification.
Scott Brown has said that, Scott Brown.
That's an amazing answer. She said that will be part of my identification. And his question is spot on, right? If you had an ancestor that you were told was black, would you have so fervently identified as black as you seem to have on these various reporting agencies? This video is all sorts of problematic for Elizabeth Warren, and many of these videos are beginning to surface now that Warren is in a presidential race. In this video, she talked about her parents being harassed and eloped. Well, that's not all that true. I mean, because reports, like the newspaper reporting of her parents' wedding, pleasant affair, reported here. Right there in the newspaper. Elizabeth Warren has stuck to the story of being a Native American. And again, like I said, there are all sorts of problems with this story. In fact, so fervently, this is a book, Pow Wow Chow. In the book, Pow Wow Chow, is this recipe by Elizabeth Warren that was essentially taken from somebody else. In Pow Wow Chow is also a recipe by Elizabeth Warren's husband, who is not a Native American and has never listed himself as such, however in the book, for purposes apparently of this book, is also called a Cherokee. I have all sorts of problems with this claim. My grandfather was Native American. I mean, literally so. I mean, his grandfather was literally a Cherokee, meaning this is not so far down in my family lineage was a great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. His grandfather literally was a Cherokee. I never identified with Native American. And even now, as I've gotten older and I've started to kind of look back, wondering about lineage and wondering about that side of the family, I can intellectually get it that these guys are Native American, but I never identified. That's something different. Warren did. And it seems like the identification of Native American teeter-tottered throughout the course of her career, at sometimes defining herself a Native American and other times declining herself as being white, and then being caught in various lies on this very specific issue. These videos have started to resurface. Question: what is on Warren's birth certificate? Welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. We can call it Soapbox After Dark. Guys, if you dig this content, you find yourself coming back often, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. This video is not going to be long. I was just more so interested in this notion of the videos that started to surface dealing with Warren about her claims of being a Native American. And that question, I think it's apropos. If you had a relative that was black, would you call yourself black, and would you believe the black community would accept you as such? That's not one video. There are multiples. This is Warren listing herself as a Native American in her state bar of Texas. Now, originally, and this is according to Boston, I thought this was Boston Global, Boston.com. Initially, when the issue first came up, Warren said she only learned about Harvard, claiming that she was a minority when she read the Boston Herald. I knew nothing about this. I had no idea that they were declaring and using me as a Native American. Warren's new statement essentially Warren acknowledged for the first time late Wednesday, this was several years ago, 2012, that she told Harvard University and University of Pennsylvania that she was a Native American, but she continued to insist that race played no role in her recruitment. At some point after I was hired by them, I provided information to the University of Pennsylvania and Harvard, she said in a statement issued by her campaign. My Native American heritage is part of who I am. I'm proud of it, and I've been open about it. Well, you haven't necessarily been honest about it. Warren's statement is the first of her acknowledgement that she identified herself as a Native American to the Ivy League school. When she had said she identified herself as a minority in a legal directory, she had carefully avoided any suggestion during last month that she took further actions to promote her purported heritage. When her issue first surfaced last month, Warren said she only learned that Harvard was claiming she was a minority when she read it in the Boston Herald. Warren's new statement came after the Globe asked her campaign about documents it obtained Wednesday from Harvard's library showing that the university's school began reporting a Native American female professor in the federal statistics for the first time in 1992 and 93 school year, the first year Warren worked at the school as a visiting professor. Warren has been dishonest on this. She initially said, I didn't know anything about them reporting me as a Native American. Then she updated it and it evolved her truth into, yes, I did give them records that I was a Native American, or at the very least I did tell them that I was a Native American. Let's keep going. It gets worse because she's teeter-tottering. There are times when she's Native American. There are times that she's not. That in and of itself is weird. If you identify with being a Native American, it looks like you would just identify with being a Native American, not necessarily flip-flop back and forth. And I'll leave it up to you to discern why. Let's go to page 2. In a May 2 interview with the Globe, Warren suggested that she did not list her ethnicity on the application because she was personally recruited by the universities where she taught. Asked how the issue first came up or how she was first reported herself as a minority, she said, but that's what I'm trying to say. There was no reporting for this. It came up over lunch conversation. Also, her campaign said Warren didn't remember. She said she forgot. Warren had previously said that she only identified minority status in an Association of American Law Schools directory to make diversity-friendly hires. Essentially, she had only said that she was a Native American in the Association for American Law School directory, a directory used to make diversity-friendly hires beginning in 1986, the year before she was hired at Pennsylvania. She stopped listing herself in the directory in 1995, the year she became a tenured professor at Harvard. Well, that's peculiar. If you're a Native American, you're a Native American, right? You wouldn't necessarily teeter-totter back and forth. And why would you stop listing it the moment that you became a tenured professor and your life was at that point rather stable? I'll leave it up to you to make that choice. Before Warren's time in Ivy League in the early 1980s, she indicated on an official University of Texas form that she was white. She also had the option to indicate Native American heritage at that point, but did not check that box. It's strange. The Harvard records begin to report a Native American woman for the academic year of 1992 and 93. The Native American woman did not appear anywhere in the statistics for 93 and 94 or 94 and 95. During those years, Warren was back at the University of Pennsylvania, having rejected Harvard's first attempt in February 93 to court her for a tenured position. After Warren's return to Pennsylvania, Harvard continued to pursue her. It seems that there are times in Warren's career where she is Native American, and at other times she is white. I am very curious about what is on her birth certificate. And I'm going to play this video again because I think this video is on point. If Warren had a family member that was black, would she so fervently insist she was an African American?
Have acknowledged that in that national law directory you listed yourself as a minority. If your family had an African American, like you have that grandparent or great-great-grandparent was a Cherokee, would you call yourself a black and expect African Americans to accept that?
You mean if
that
my
same,
father's... Well, let me think about this.
If that same ancestor was black.
That's not something you really need to think about. The framing of this is a little bit wrong. Again, it went beyond her listing herself in the National Directory. She told the schools that she was Native American. And she can't say, let me think about it. She has to answer immediately, yes. I mean, ultimately, she said that because I had an ancient ancestor that I was told was Native American, and I consider myself Native American, if the same thing was true, that I was told I had an ancient ancestor that was black, would I consider myself to be black, and would I expect people to accept me as such? I don't know how you don't immediately say yes to that, since that's essentially, literally, what you are saying with the Native American issue. Let's let her answer. But the answer should immediately just say, yes, you have to. There can't be no thinking in this.
It's not that ancestor. It's if my father's parents had said, you can't marry her because she's black, and that had been part of our family growing up, that we had two different families.
You would be comfortable saying you're black?
It would be part of identification.
Just to be clear, everyone has two different families. Everyone has two different families. As far as I know, incest is against the law. And from the standpoint of, I have an ancient relative that's black and you can't marry them because they have an ancient relative that's black, even though none of you look black, would that, it's the same thing. He's asking her the same thing. And I think everybody who's listening to this, eyes and brains, accept that the answer to this is probably no, she wouldn't accept herself as black. And no, she wouldn't expect the black community to accept her as such with an ancient ancestor that's black. And yet the same thing is supposedly true for Native Americans, where people just supposedly accept her as being a Native American. I strongly suggest to you that this was being used for some degree of potential advantage. And when she got what she wanted out of it, meaning a tenured position at Harvard, there was no point in continuing to list herself as Native American, at which point the rules fell apart. I don't need to do this anymore. And again, the database that she was listing herself in was the database that was used to make diversity-friendly hires. But again, it went beyond the database. It was the database including an admission that she told the universities, Harvard and Pennsylvania, that she was a Native American. The university may not say, yes, we hired her because she was a Native American. And if I'm being honest, it's not about whether they hired her because she was a Native American. It was what was in her head. That she believed that she was going to get some level of advantage for being a diversity hire. Yes, it's very possible she was going to believe that. Is it possible that somebody told Elizabeth Warren somewhere that you got some ancient relative that's a Native American? Her self-identifying, however, is weird. And again, I'm saying this from personal experience. I have literally a grandfather that is Native American. And I never identified. None of us have. And yet, she does. Up until the point where she got her tenure at Harvard, at which point it didn't matter anymore. What advantage did she believe she was going to get? And did she think she was going to get advantage? That's what matters. The ultimate and the point that people are making, that I'm making, is that ultimately she identified herself as a minority in order to get a potential advantage within regards to diversity hire. You realize that affirmative action, people complain about it, but ultimately affirmative action, most of the people who were able to take advantage were white women. White women, potentially like Native American Elizabeth Warren. That's the issue that people have with this. It's not whether or not Elizabeth Warren got hired because she was a Native American. It's more so that Elizabeth Warren thought she may get some level of an advantage by doing so. And the affirmative action wouldn't have needed her to be Native American. Her being a white woman would have been sufficient. I guess I'm making the point that what was in her head mattered. If she thought she was going to get some level of advantage for it, there you go. It doesn't matter whether or not she got the advantage. The point that people are making here is you call yourself something that you were not in order to get a leg up over people who actually potentially were. Like, share, subscribe. There are multiple videos like this. They are going to eat her alive. They're going to eat her alive. Thanks all.